Yeah. Yep. Yes, a ramen bowl. Oh my god, I'm hungry. I really should eat before this. All right, guys, real quick intro again. This is going to be part 3 for our procedural mesh tool devlog series. This is going to handle holes and resizing for specific size walls and kind of pushing holes and windows and stuff where you can add other meshes. A good example is a doorway, creating a procedurally generated wall and then putting a hole in it, right? So you can actually add a doorway or a corridor. So let's hop right into it. All right, so I'm gonna head real quick. I'm gonna actually go to show you guys one more thing. I'm gonna remove these actual extra layers here just to help illustrate the point here, and I'm actually going to turn this into a wall, pretend it's a wall. So I'm actually going to rotate it 90 degrees down and move it this way a little bit and this way a little bit, and let's just put it in the ground for now. Okay, so a lot of you are wondering, like, okay, well, how do you like build in walls or how do you build in like pathways and stuff like that? So I'm actually gonna come in here and I'm just gonna bring in one of my pre-made one of my doorways, BP room door. I'm gonna bring that into the mix here. This has a nice little border on it. I'm gonna rotate this again 90 degrees, and again we're on actual ground, like ground level, or sorry, terrain, but just for the sake of the tutorial, well, you know what? Let's build it. So I'm going to copy this just to show you it can easily be copied, right? I'm going to paste it. I'm going to create a ground now, 90 degrees, boom, down here, bring it down, and let's bring it down here, cool, and I'll bring this up here. Bring this up here and bring it here. Just let's put it right here for now. Okay, so we're simulating that we have a ground and a wall space here, and obviously this is incredibly busy, but just to kind of illustrate the issue here. So let's say we want to put a door, the way our levels kind of set up, we want to put a door like right here, right? Somewhere around here, right? So I have my pre-made doorways that they look the same basically on both sides, right? So the idea here is that we do have support for this as well. So let me push this to, well, let me actually simplify. Let me get some of these, let me delete some of these arrays to simplify the visual. Okay, cool. All right, so now we got same kind of concepts. We have this. We have a single 1x1 and some 1x2 wall panels that are evenly made up, split in this wall, just for illustration purposes. All right, so we want to build. We have a door frame here, right? And let's just say on the other side of that, there's another room. How do you account for that? Because obviously, if I open up this door, there'll be a wall, right? There'll be an actual wall in the way, right? So what we do here is we have a built-in hole functionality. So, and I'll get into borders in a second. So come down to holes, and we're gonna add a new hole in this wall, right? So right now there's a hole, boom. So I come up here, and again, this is a distance-based system. So it's not like a 1x1. There's no such thing as a 1x1 or a 1x2, right? This just happens to be the structure that I'm working with for this particular procedural segment set, but the tool itself is distance based, so the holes are distance based. So I'm going to add in a hole here. It's a hole array, so I'm going to add my first hole here, and let's say I want it to start 250 from the top. And I want it to go all the way down to 600 from the end. So now we have by default, it's 1 unit wide. So let's add now. We're going to add in the hole, the right, left. So essentially you're saying you're given the 4 distance positions for the hole. So the top distance, the bottom distance, the left side and the right side of the holes, essentially in distance, in Unreal units that you want that hole to be. So let's do it. Let's go 1,000 in, and then let's say wide it's 1,500. So it's basically a 500 unit hole. So boom, now we have a hole, as you can see, and this, we can expand it. Let's do the right left margin 600. Now it's that big, right? So point being, and again, this depends on where your pivot location is and where you're spawning it from. So if you're spawning at center, right, you'll actually have the distances where that hole is generating from will be from that origin point. So, but since my origin point's in the upper corner, that's the location from the hole. Anyway, so I'm actually going to, right, so let's start this 900 down. What is this, 2,000? Let's do, what's the width on this? 2,000, right? Yeah. So let's do 1,500 to 2,000. Cool. And you can see how we're starting to get close to what we need for this generation point. So let's do 1,700, 1,600. Yeah, that works. So now we're in the range. So now it's too wide, right? So let's move our left angle to 650. So 1,000. Let's do 900. Let's actually move this out of the way so I can see what's going on here. All right, cool. All right, so that's good. And then let's move the margin into 1,200 maybe. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So, and that could be a little bit tighter, but here you go. Point being, we got our border here, and again, this could be whatever you want. This is just how I happen to be building these things. So now we have a perfectly established, and let's so if we actually load this up in game and I come up to the door and actually open the door, boom, the door will open and there'll be a hole in there and you can go through to the other side. So okay, last thing is I wanted to show you was rescaling. So you'll notice that the last kind of option we have under these walls, this particular generated wall, is this rescaling functionality. And this is where this trace will come in helpful to kind of illustrate the point here. So all this time, even though we put a 2,000 by 3,000 distance limit in, it hasn't actually been 3,000 Unreal units wide. And that's because all the meshes that I'm fitting in, it's only putting enough meshes up to the point it can fit inside that 3,000 unit limit. So right now it's a little bit under 3,000, but if we hit that rescaling button, boom, this automatically rescales perfectly to the dimensions that you need for the wall. So if you're looking for exact, no overflow, if you have uneven units or uneven panels, they're sticking out, which you can actually see here if I turn this off, right? Everything, because of like the hole and these variances, and if you add spacing and all these other kind of things, it doesn't necessarily line up evenly at the end. So for instance, right here, because of the hole and extra stuff, it can fit a little bit more properly sized meshes. It fills up a little bit more of the space, but as you can see, that's not good if you're trying to get an exact width and height. So that's where the rescaling mathematics comes in, and you'll see the wall perfectly rescales to what you need. So if you're looking for exact measurements for engineering standpoint, now these meshes are being resized ever so slightly. It's essentially taking a little bit away from each mesh in order to basically make up the difference, but it works horizontally, vertically on every single axis. So if we were actually to make this a lot bigger and go, let's say 10,000 by 15,000, and if we were to scale up, or move this up, I should say, went a little bit up too high, move this over, move this wall up just so it's fully in view. Okay, and we're going to take off rescaling. Again, you'll see that And just for the sake of it, let's I'm gonna add in space additional, so we have some extra parameters here, like additional spacing in the rows. So just for the sake of it, I'm gonna add, like, let's say 100, anywhere from 100 to 150 space in here, right? So now you can see, right, we're adding some extra calculated space in between each of these panels. So just to illustrate like the various holes, if you have a bunch of different holes, or really minor kind of to scale, like 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3. But if the meshes are really different sizes, you're going to get uneven edges here, right? So this is what it's going to look like at the end. So there's no way to possibly line those up perfectly unless you actually click on the rescaling button. And if you hit the rescaling button, boom, everything pops in place, and it's perfectly 15,000 Unreal units long. And I'll turn that back off just so you can see it, and turn it back on, and boom, we got our mesh. All right, guys, I hope this answered most of the questions that kind of came in around how we're using our procedurally generated tools, why we made custom ones, and what we're using them for. Again, this is a lot of engineering, tight-knit interior work that we're building. We're using this to build. We're taking a look at the 5.2 PGCP procedurally generated procedural content generation, PCG tools that came out in 5.2. It's not, we're still looking in the feasibility of that, and obviously those tools are going to grow too. So, but in the meantime, these are meeting our purposes. These are specifically meeting our purposes. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up on Twitter. I'd be happy to respond there. This is probably going to get posted to YouTube. So just leave a comment if you have any questions on this, and let me know if this is kind of a tool that you guys might be interested in using, because we would consider releasing it. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for popping in and joining. Hope you got something out of this. Hope it gave you a little bit of insight into our world, and I can't wait to show you what's next. All right, guys, have a great week.